purpose of this little session, I'm thinking of a web page as serving two jobs. The first thing is it needs to attract visitors to the site. It needs to come up in the search engines and bring people to your site. And once the page has got them to the site, then of course you have to convert those people into leads, which eventually hopefully become patients. So we've got 30 minutes to cover two very large subjects, but I'll see what I can do. So why free search traffic? Well, obviously free is good. It's not entirely free. There is some work to do to get this free traffic, but it can be low cost. And yesterday we were talking about pay-per-click. Those clicks can cost $5 to $10 for every single click. Maybe it takes 100 clicks to get one lead. You just spent 500 to what am I saying? 500 to $1,000 for one lead, and that isn't even a patient. So pay-per-click can be very expensive, especially if it's not done well. So free or low cost is always good. There's a misunderstanding about SEO. There's a lot of talk in the SEO business about how much work you have to do. You have to continually work to get that free traffic. Actually, in many cases, you do a little bit of work up front. Maybe you do a little bit of maintenance work, but it's really the gift that keeps on giving. You can rank a site up high, and it may stick there for years. And so it's a good thing to be doing. It's also relatively easy for IVF clinics to do this. I've worked with businesses such as the mortgage business. I've worked with attorneys, with lawyers. The legal marketing business is probably the most difficult and expensive online marketing channel, really. It's incredibly competitive. IVF isn't that competitive. You don't have that many competitors in a single town. A single city may have hundreds of personal injury attorneys, but may only have one or two IVF clinics. So it's relatively low competition, and from what I can see, it should be relatively easy for an IVF clinic to rank within a particular city. So what I'm talking about here is, these are the search results. Obviously, this is Google. I'm not talking about this area. These are pay-per-click ads. These over here are pay-per-click ads. I'm talking about the space below here, and that may not look like much. Obviously, this is only the top of the page. A lot of clicks do go into the pay-per-click, but a lot of clicks are still going into the organic, what we call the organic search area. That's the geek term in the business. So a lot of traffic still does go through this area. If we scroll down, there's a bit more of it here. Actually, well, it does go on down. There's generally 10 results here. And I'm also talking, oh, that's a shame. We're kind of getting cut off, but I guess that's all right. I'm talking about local search results as well. When a map comes up like this and you get a section here with these little pins, this is sort of local search results. Some search terms, Google or any of the big search engines, they'll look at that search term and think that's a local search. If you search for IVF, it doesn't do it. I think even if you search for IVF clinic, I'm not sure. But if you add a city name, Denver, it will automatically assume that's what you want. You're searching locally. Some searches are automatically like pizza. You search for pizza, it's going to assume that you're searching for a pizza place in your city. Oops. So search engine optimization is what we're talking about. This essentially means creating a site that ranks well in the search engines, and there are three basic elements that I'm interested in here. There's what we call on-page optimization. That's doing things to the actual web pages to tell the search engines these pages are related to such and such a subject, are related to the phrase IVF clinic or whatever. There is off-page optimization, which is a really geeky term, I think. What it means is creating links from other websites pointing to your website. The basic idea here is if nobody cares to link to your site, why should Google or any of the search engines care about your site? So if you have no links, the search engines don't care about your site, however good it is. And then there's local submissions. We want to be in that little local search area as well. So these are the three main areas. Where we start is keywords. So here's your potential patient up in the corner here. Keywords connect that patient to your website. It's an obvious concept, I guess. But It's surprising how often businesses don't think about their keywords, or at least they think about them, but that's all they do. They come up with a list and they just make up a list, essentially. But they're incredibly important. They're the very foundation, in effect, of the whole SEO game and the pay-per-click game as well. You have to know your keywords. You really need to do a keyword analysis. In other words, you need to use a tool such as Word Tracker or Google AdWords keyword tool. There's a lot of these tools out there. These are probably the two biggest, two most popular. These will tell you what people are actually searching for. And if you just guess, if you don't do a keyword analysis, one of two things will happen. Either you will, well, actually both these things will happen. You will think that certain phrases are more important than they actually are. This happens all the time. People assume in their business, well, this must be the phrase, and they discover on doing an analysis that, in fact, ordinary people don't use that phrase. And the other thing is you will miss important phrases. You will be unaware of things that people are searching for. This is an example of the Google AdWords, well, they call it the keyword planner now. They changed recently. And I set this to, this is actually Los Angeles. I set this to, you can set the location and tell it where you want to get information from. I picked, there's sort of 7 little sections in Los Angeles. And then it'll tell you how often people search for certain phrases. In vitro fertilization, 1,600 times a month, somebody in the Los Angeles area will sit down and type that exact phrase. In vitro fertilization cost, and so on. I was talking about ad groups yesterday, and you can see there are 3 cost-related phrases here. In vitro fertilization cost, cost of in vitro fertilization, where's the other one? How much is in vitro fertilization? That would be one ad group, and you'd point people to a single landing page related to that, to those terms. Another thing you need to see here are the bids. These are the suggested bids per click, and we can see they range from $5 to $10 per click. So the pay-per-click thing gets very expensive very, very quickly. So these are typical terms. That's what the keyword thing is all about. What people sit down and they type into the search engine to try to find information about a clinic or an actual clinic or whatever it may be. They're typing these phrases in. So on-page optimization, the basic principle of on-page optimization is once you know those keywords, you use those keywords in your website in order to have a particular page rise up in the search engine for a particular phrase. And what I often advise people to do is figure out what those phrases are and work your way down the list. You create a page for each one, and you optimize a page for that specific phrase. So how do you do that? You place keywords in the right places on the page. You do it sufficient times. You don't want a very popular phrase appearing once in your website. You want it to appear throughout the website, and you want a page with the phrase in multiple times. You have to format the word properly within the pages. So as an example, let's say I want to rank, when somebody types IVF Clinic Denver, I want one of my pages to come up in the search engine. So these are some of the things I'm going to do to my pages. I'm going to use the file name URL, the title tag, the description tag, the page headers. Some of this is geek talk. I mean, this is HTML we're talking about, and I know this isn't an HTML session, so this is sort of an overview. We're not going to get into great detail. As an example, the file name or the URL, the address of the web page. You want to get the keywords in here. I've got a page that's ivf-clinic-denver.html. The title tag, it's a little bit of HTML. I'm not going to show it to you, but it puts the text in the top of the browser. That's the title text. So you would have something like this in here: IVF Clinic Denver, In Vitro Fertilization Clinic Denver, Colorado. You get the keywords in there. These two things, the URL, the address of the web page, and the title tag, these are the most important parts of a web page as far as SEO goes. If a search engine sees the word IVF clinic, the words IVF clinic in a URL or in the title tag, they can be pretty sure that page is not about baseball. So these are very important places to put these words. What else? The description tag. The description tag, another piece of HTML hidden in the code, Most people never see it, but the text is used in the search results. Often, not always, it's used in the search results. Google says they don't use the description tag for ranking the page, so the keywords may not matter in the page, but it's definitely a sales pitch. When somebody sees this in the search results, you're trying to get them to click on those search results. So it still serves a very important purpose. And it may be used for ranking by Bing, for instance, but not Google, at least so they claim. Headers within the pages. You want to put keywords in the headers, and you want to use H1 tags. Again, this is a bit of HTML. A lot of web designers these days don't use heading tags. They don't use H1 or H2 tags, but they really should. Google recommends that you use H tags because it gives them an idea. And again, if they see a keyword in a heading tag, they can be pretty sure that the text that follows it is related to one of those words in the tag. So it's an important thing. Obviously, you want the keywords that you're trying to optimize for within the body of the text in the page itself. And you want it several times. I don't know how many times. There's a lot of people out there who will tell you exactly the percentage that you should have. It should be 4.8%. Nobody knows. They're just making it up. But my theory is if it sounds clumsy, if you have that phrase in the page too often and it sounds clumsy, you've gone too far. But you want it in there repeatedly. You want it in links between pages. So if you're optimizing for the phrase IVF Clinic Denver, you've created this page somewhere else on the site. You want to link probably multiple pages. You want links pointing back to that page using the actual text in the link itself, because that gives a clue to the search engines. If they see the words, the keywords in that link, they can be pretty sure that what that link points to is about those keywords. You can put it in what's called image alt attributes. You've seen when you point at an image, you get a little pop-up here. That's done using the alt attribute in the HTML. So you can put keywords in there. There's a lot of different ways you can use these keywords. There's what I call a what we do paragraph. You gather together all the important keywords and you write a paragraph explaining what your clinic does. It's not just a list of keywords, it's woven into actual prose. And then you put that on every single page. There are things called XML sitemaps. There are webmaster accounts. There are authorship links to Google+, which are used to, you've probably seen in Google little pictures next to search results now. That's done using this authorship technique with Google+ accounts. So there's a lot of different things you can do. And then there's the whole issue of local search results. Again, we have the map up here. And this actually comes from a different place. It's not the same index. It's connected to the index. Google gets most of these pages, the organic, the free results. They have what they call bots. They request pages. They talk about this thing crawling the web. I mean, really, it's just a program running on Google servers that requests pages. It reads the pages. It looks for links. Then it requests the next pages, and it pulls them all down. This stuff is different. You actually have to register with Google+. Let's see what I got here, in fact. So Google Maps is run through Google+ now. Yahoo Local, Bing Local. These are services you register with, and you provide your information to, and you make sure that everything in the local directory is correct. You can provide photographs, you can provide videos, and so on. And so you need to be in the local directories. It may be a good idea also to register for well, in the United States, there's hundreds of directories. In the US, people often use a service called ubl.org. I know UBL also works in, I think, Australia, the UK, and Canada. I imagine other countries probably have similar things. This is an example. I'm not promoting UBL. This is just sort of an example of what they do. If you provide information to UBL, they transmit this information to all these different local directories. So it's a good thing to be in these. You can also put location keywords on every page. If I have an IVF clinic in Denver, Colorado, I want the words Denver, Colorado on every single page. I want it in the footer, and I probably want it in the body text. I'll want it in the URL itself. I want it in the title tags. So you need to put location keywords throughout. Titles, URLs, etc. There are also special meta tags. These are little bits of code that go into the HTML I keep using this term HTML. I mean, I'm hoping people understand that. That's the underlying code that creates the web page that you don't see, but the browser reads in order to create that page. So there are special tags that can go into the code that tell the search engines where the location actually is geographically. Now, has anybody heard this phrase, content is king? It's a phrase you hear a lot in the search engine business. It's really not. The idea is search engine business is all about creating content. You need a lot of content, and content is a good thing. And by content, I mean essentially text, and to some degree video these days. But essentially what it means is you need lots of articles, lots of blog articles, and so on. And this is a good thing, but it's most definitely not king, because you can have thousands of pages of content. In fact, I was working with a business in the UK just last week. They were very frustrated. They have 11,000 pages on their website, and they have a competitor with 12 web pages who ranks higher. And so why is that? And I've had this question over and over for years. I work with a lot of small businesses, small to medium businesses, who ask me to examine their websites and tell them what's wrong. And I get that question a lot. Look at our site. It's better optimized. There's lots of pages. Look at the competitor. Why is he at the top? It's almost always because of links. You have to have links to your website. So somebody on another website links to your website. And I mentioned before, the basic idea is if you don't have links, if nobody cares enough to link to your website, why should the search engines care enough to rank your website? Why would they show other people your website when nobody else cares about it? So you have to have links to your site. And these links do several things. The first thing is something called PageRank. This is a Google term. This is what started the whole Google revolution back in '98 or whenever it was. PageRank is all about providing votes to web pages. So if you have a web page and other pages linked to it, each link is a vote. And in fact, each link may be multiple votes. If you get a link from a very popular website that has lots of links into it itself, then that link to your page is a lot of votes. A link from a very unpopular site is just a few votes. So it's a way they have of ranking pages based on popularity of the pages. So if you have two pages, Google finds two pages that seem to have the same information, that seem to match a search term, but this one has a much higher page rank, that is, it's more popular, and this one will rank higher than the less popular page. There's also a concept called trust rank, which is pretty much what it sounds like. If you have links from very trusted websites, then that passes on some of the trust to your site. So links from EDU, from educational websites are good. Links from government websites, links from newspapers and TV and radio station websites and so on. These are trusted links, and they pass on some of the trust to you. Links from garbage blogs don't pass rank, don't pass trust rank. And the other thing that's important to understand with links is that the keywords in the links tell the search engine what that page is about. I mentioned this earlier on. Links inside the web page, inside your site do this, but even more powerfully, links outside the site. I don't know if any of you remember the famous miserable failure search a few years ago. This was a trick that a bunch of bloggers played on George Bush, essentially. They created links, and it wasn't thousands of links. It was in the dozens or scores of links. It wasn't a huge number, but they created links with the words miserable failure pointing to George Bush's curriculum vitae on the White House website. Consequently, anybody who searched for miserable failure, up would pop his resume. And essentially what was happening, this is called Google bombing, to attack a site by pointing keywords to them. And it's very effective. It doesn't work anymore for that particular phrase. I think they manually stopped it eventually. But keywords and links are very, very important. Here are some examples of links. This is a directory of IVF clinics. It's a good thing to be in. It's a good place to get links, I think. So this is what we're talking about. I often have people ask me, what do I mean by links? Well, this is it. It's just links. Links on a website, you click on it and it takes you to that site. This is essentially what we're talking about. Now, there are two types of links. I think I'm going to run out of time here. There are two types of links in my mind. There's the real thing and there's the fake thing. And I don't mean technically. They both work in the same way. You point at it, you click on it, and it takes you somewhere. But from an SEO perspective, there's the real thing and there's the fake thing. And the real thing is a link pointed to your website because the owner of the linking site thinks it will be useful to the readers of the linking site. A fake link is one that is on somebody's website because you want it on somebody's website. You want links on your site because you know that the search engines reward you for having links, so you go out and do various things, perhaps buying links, paying people to put links on their site, and you're doing it purely to push your site up in the search engines. So these are the two basic concepts. There's the real thing and there's the fake thing. And quite frankly, the fake thing has worked incredibly well for many years. The problem is, it's not working anywhere near as well as it used to. It's getting much harder to fake this. And you really need, these days, you really need the real links. Over the last 2 years in particular, actually even the last few weeks, Google has made a lot of different changes to how they assess links, and they're getting much better at figuring out the garbage. So what is the real thing? Where do you get these real links? It can be difficult. There's what I call friends and family links, which is basically, who do I know who will give me a link? And it could be literally friends and family, it can be colleagues, it can be anybody. You've got to sit down and you think, where can I get a link from? Professional associations are often a good thing. We saw a directory earlier on. Actually, I'm not sure if that was a professional association or not. It might have been. But they're a good thing. Directories, medical directories, directories of IVF clinics in particular, are a good thing. Local directories, often various cities will have their own small local directories. What else we got here? Employees' social networking accounts, you might ask for links from there. I think what's going to happen now is that PR is coming back. Public relations is coming back. People played this whole linking game, creating garbage links, fake links, and that is not working very well anymore. And it's going to get harder and harder and harder to play that game. I think PR is going to become much more important from a search engine ranking standpoint. And what PR can do for you, you can get links from newspapers, radio and TV websites. Blogs also, I think, are a great target. There are a lot of people out there blogging about fertility, about motherhood. Any subject you can imagine, people are blogging about. And you need to find a way to reach the bloggers and give them a reason to link to your site. I won't go into details about the whole PR concept. You've got to have a hook and so on. But I think PR is going to become much more important. You also need to think keywords, as I mentioned before. Here's a link. I mean, ideally, I'd like to see something like that. IVF Clinic Miami, that's great. They actually do, what they did here is, you can't always determine what your link is going to look like. A lot of directories will just link to your domain name. Apparently, this directory was allowing people to link to pages within the domain name, but it wasn't allowing them to create actual keyworded links. So these guys linked to Fertility Center, a page called Fertility Center, so they did get keywords in there. That was a good thing. The fakes. So the search engines hate fakes, but they've been rewarding it for many years. This is why people do it. It actually worked, and the reason it worked is they couldn't figure out the difference. I don't have time to explain why right now, but they have now found a fantastic way to figure out the fake links, and it's working incredibly well. They're still available, but it's getting more complicated. It's getting much more expensive to fake links, but it is still possible to do it, obviously. So coming to the converting visitors to patients in the last 3 minutes, it looks like. Ugly does not sell. This is less of a problem than it used to be. It used to be a huge problem. These days, websites generally look much nicer, much more professional, not always still, but it's your site, your site's your face on the world. This is what you're presenting to people, and it does have an effect. It does affect how people view your business. You also need to think process. It's a sales process. A website is a piece of sales software. It's not just a way to throw information at people. And so you need to think of the process. What is it you're trying to achieve with the site? And unfortunately, web designers generally don't understand this. There are 4 roles in building websites. There's the whole coding thing, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, whatever. There's stuff under the page that makes the page work. There's graphic design, making it look good. There's user interface design, making it easy to use. But there's also the whole marketing process. And these are 4 different things that generally are not found in a single person. And so when you go and hire a web designer, a single web designer, you almost never get all 4 of these in one person, and it's a big problem. A question that most web designers never ask is, what do you want the visitor to do when you land on the site? And you can see that by looking at websites. Quite clearly, nobody's asked that question. What is it you want the visitor to do? One thing to consider is that different people convert. I'm racing the clock here. People convert at different speeds. And so you provide different mechanisms. Some people will land on your site and they just want to talk to somebody. They're ready to talk right away. On the other hand, at the other extreme, you've got people who are just starting, they're just investigating, they want a piece of information, but they're not ready to talk to you, so you provide different channels. You want a site that's clear, that is easy to scan. In other words, you scan down the page looking for things and things jump out at you. It needs to be focused. It needs to lead the visitor. So I can use this one because they're not here, are they? Nobody's here from this. No? Good, good. Big block of text. People are not going to read that. People are not. They want to scan, and that's really difficult to scan. I did like this one I found just recently, actually last night. I like the way they've chunked everything. Headings with a little bit of text. A heading down here, a little bit of text, read more. Heading here, read more. We've got these 4 questions. They know that these are common questions for people who are at this stage, that are arriving on their site. So they're breaking it into little pieces. I found this. Obviously, this is not an IVF clinic. I just wanted to show you this. This is a nice way to chunk. I believe in chunking information, providing it in little pieces. And what they've done here is, as you click down here, or as you point actually, you don't even have to click, the information changes. So it's a way to provide the information. I might have actually put those up higher. No, I guess that's okay. But it provides information in little pieces instead of throwing the whole thing at them. So my concept is you don't lead with information. You lead people to information. Again, you chunk it into pieces. And I do realize that there's a bit of a dilemma here. For SEO, you need a lot of content. More content, the better. I said content's not king, it's not king, but you still do need content. On the other hand, for marketing, you need less content. You need clarity and you need fewer words. And so you can still have that content on the website, but you have to find ways to do it in an easier way. So basically, the SEO thing, it's important. It can bring you cheap traffic. It shouldn't be hard for IVF to do it, or excuse me, basically ranking a web page for an IVF clinic is not that complicated if you have the knowledge and the skills to do it. And that's the problem. You can do it in-house. Most clinics will not have the skills and the knowledge to do it. Or you can outsource it, but then you've got to watch for snake oil. I don't know if that's a very American term, snake oil. Do people understand snake oil? It means fake medicine. There's a lot of scams out there wrapped around the SEO business, and a lot of SEO firms say they'll do something and they really won't, or they don't even really know what they're doing. So it's difficult to get this done from a knowledge perspective. The actual work to get it done is not that complicated, and I think it's worth doing for IVF clinics.